our family moved into a new house. The old owners never left. Before you go deeper, remember, what you're about to hear is based on disturbing real events. If it keeps you up tonight, don't say we didn't warn you. Subscribe, like, and comment your theory below, because this mystery hasn't been solved. The house was beautiful, not in the modern marble countertops and glass walls way, but in the lost time kind of way. Wide porch, red bricks, thick oak doors, and a rusted weather vane that screeched when the wind turned. The kind of house you find once in a lifetime and can't believe it sat on the market so long. The McCarver family thought they got lucky. They weren't. It started with the silence, not the peaceful kind, but the heavy kind. The kind that hums in your ears like static. Alex McCarver, 17, noticed it first. The family had barely finished unloading the moving truck when he stopped in the hallway, looked up at the air vent and said, "Do you hear that?" His mom laughed it off. His dad was too busy figuring out the heating. His younger sister was already claiming her room. The next morning, the house had rearranged itself. Not dramatically, just subtly. The cross his mother always hung above the bedroom door had fallen, face down. A cupboard they hadn't unpacked yet stood open. A single spoon was on the floor. Still, nobody said anything. Until 3 days later, when a local contractor came by to fix the fireplace. He stopped at the front steps, took one look at the porch, and refused to come inside. "You should ask the seller about the Winters family," he said, backing away. "They owned this place before, disappeared back in '97. House sat empty after that." When Mr. McCarver tried to press him for details, the contractor got in his truck and left without another word. That night, Alex searched the Winters family online. 2 names, Gregory and Naomi Winters. No children listed, no obituary. Just a missing persons report buried deep in a public database, dated March 15, 1997. Their last known address? 1736 Ash Creek Lane. His new home. Alex didn't tell anyone yet. Not even when he noticed the closet under the stairs was nailed shut from the outside. Or when he found a row of black and white photos in the attic, all showing the same man standing behind a woman in a rocking chair, staring into the lens with a strange blank smile. The man wasn't Gregory Winters. He was someone else, and he appeared in every photo, across different rooms, different angles, always behind her. 2 weeks in, the family finally admitted something was wrong. The house had cold spots that didn't line up with vents. The power flickered every time someone went into the upstairs bathroom. At 3:12 a.m., the floorboards creaked like someone pacing in the kitchen. Every night. Same time, same steps. Still, they stayed. Moving is expensive. Denial is cheap. It wasn't until Alex found the journal in the wall that things became impossible to ignore. He discovered it by accident while pulling cable for his gaming setup. Behind a loose section of drywall, someone had hidden a faded green notebook. The first page was dated March 3, 1997. The handwriting belonged to Naomi Winters. The entry started off calm. Mundane details about groceries, weather, her husband's work schedule. But 3 days in, the tone shifted. Naomi wrote about hearing someone calling her name when she was alone, doors that locked by themselves, the rocking chair that would face a different direction each morning. Then came a single sentence, scrawled in shaky handwriting. "He's in the walls now." The rest of the pages were ripped out. Alex brought the journal to his dad. For the first time, his father didn't laugh it off. He turned pale. Because what Alex hadn't noticed, what his father did notice, was the dried blood under Naomi's last words. Later that night, the entire family gathered in the living room, and Mr. McCarver admitted something he had hidden since the move-in. He had found a basement door in the master bedroom closet. It was padlocked shut. He hadn't told anyone because it creeped him out. Now, Alex demanded they open it. His dad agreed. They found a crowbar and bolt cutters, and when they pulled open the door, the cold hit them first, a wave of it rushing out of the darkness. Then came the smell, old, thick, like mold and metal, and something far worse. The flashlight flickered, but when the beam hit the far wall, they all stopped breathing, because carved into the concrete was the name Winters, over and over again, dozens of times, scratched deep, each letter uneven, jagged. Below it, scrawled in smaller letters, one final message. The cold from the basement didn't leave. It lingered in their clothes, in their lungs, in the silence that followed. Nobody spoke as the door shut behind them. It hadn't even been the wind. It swung shut, like it had waited. The McCarvers barely slept that night. By morning, Alex had reread Naomi's journal 3 times. He couldn't shake the final sentence. He's in the walls now. There were no other entries, no signatures, no goodbyes. Just that one terrifying line. His mom didn't want to talk about it. She started cleaning obsessively, scrubbing every corner, burning cinnamon-scented candles as if they could drive out whatever had soaked into the bones of the house. His father, on the other hand, began investigating. He pried into city records. There were no building permits for a basement in their section of town. In fact, every blueprint showed the house had no basement at all. And yet, there it was, a place that officially didn't exist. Things escalated quickly after that. 3 nights later, Alex woke to scratching. Not mice, not raccoons. This was deep, heavy, something dragging. It moved from one wall to another, slow, methodical. It stopped directly behind his headboard. When he placed his hand against the drywall, it vibrated faintly, like something alive was on the other side, listening. He didn't sleep. He just waited for daylight. At breakfast, he told his dad. For once, his father didn't dismiss him. He just nodded and said he'd heard something too. Then he placed a small metal object on the table. A microphone. More specifically, a wired contact mic he had picked up from an old coworker who used to do home security installations. That night, they placed the mic on the basement wall and ran the feed into Alex's laptop. For the first 3 hours, nothing. Then, around 2:50 a.m., a sound emerged from the headphones. Whispers, unclear, breathy, shifting. But as they increased the gain, the whispers began forming words. He lied. He brought him here. He opened it. The voice was male, raspy, strained. Then a second voice came through, higher, angrier. Get out! The mic shorted seconds later. Sparks popped from the cable. The laptop screen went black. The family left the house the next morning, just for the day. They needed space, clarity. They went to a motel and made calls to the realtor, the police, anyone who could help. That afternoon, they got a call back from a private investigator named Ray Merrick. He had worked the Winters case in the 90s before it went cold. When Alex mentioned the name over voicemail, Merrick called back immediately and said one thing. If you found Naomi's journal, then the stories were true. I'll be there by nightfall. Ray arrived just before dusk. Tall, late 50s, sharp jaw, trench coat. He carried a battered folder and a serious look. The McCarvers let him in and led him straight to the basement. He walked the stairs slowly, knelt beside the W, Inter's carvings. His eyes didn't leave the scrawl for almost a minute. Then he said something that made everyone's stomach turn. There's more down here. This wall isn't real. Mr. McCarver asked what he meant. Ray tapped the concrete. Listen. The knock sounded hollow. He stepped back, pulled a multi-tool from his coat, and scraped the edge. Beneath a layer of thin concrete was wood, old, warped, a door hidden behind a fake concrete wall. Together they broke through. Dust filled the air. Behind the wall was a second chamber, cramped maybe 6 by 6 feet. In the middle of the room sat a rotting leather chair, a chain bolted to the floor. On the chair, worn grooves in the arms, as if someone had gripped them for a long, long time. And then, a photograph nailed to the back wall. It showed Naomi Winters, eyes wide, holding a child no one had ever mentioned. A boy. Under the photo, scrawled in shaky pencil, "He's still down here." Before anyone could speak, a loud crack echoed from above them, the sound of footsteps, heavy, deliberate, crossing the living room floor. But they were the only ones in the house. Ray drew his flashlight. Mr. McCarver grabbed a tire iron. They all rushed up the stairs. The house was still, empty, until Alex looked toward the hallway and saw the attic ladder was down, extended. None of them had touched it. Ray motioned everyone back. He moved forward alone, slowly climbing the attic ladder. The wood groaned. His flashlight cut into the darkness. Then his voice drifted down, quiet, tense. "There's something up here. It's another room." A pause. Then he whispered, "There's someone sleeping in the corner." Alex froze. Ray stepped closer and the beam of light flicked across what looked like a pile of blankets. And then, a hand twitched. Ray started to speak, but the figure shot upright. Fast. Too fast. And then the attic went dark. The attic light never came back on. Alex stood frozen beneath the ladder, staring into the void where I had just disappeared. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. And then, from above, one sound. A gasp. Sharp. Choked. Followed by a violent thud. Mr. McCarver rushed up the steps without hesitation. Alex followed. What they found when they reached the attic didn't make sense. Not at first. Ray was on the floor, flat on his back, eyes wide open. He wasn't unconscious, but he wasn't blinking either. His flashlight rolled nearby, flickering against the slanted wooden ceiling. It cast just enough light to reveal the rest of the attic. There were drawings. Dozens of them. Maybe hundreds. Each one done in thick charcoal. Stick figures with stretched arms and mouths drawn wide in silent screams. A woman, a man, and a child. Always standing near the same object. A leather chair bolted to the floor. The same one from the basement. Ray finally blinked. Then he whispered one word. "Micah." He said the name again, louder this time. Alex asked who that was. Ray didn't answer right away. He just pointed at one of the drawings, which showed a young boy, face hollow, eyes blackened, standing alone in a corner of a room. "He was Naomi and Gregory's son," Ray finally said. But no one knew he existed. There was no birth certificate, no school record, nothing. Naomi kept him secret, homeschooled, isolated. Gregory didn't even claim him. Alex asked what happened to him. Ray looked down. There were rumors about abuse, about Gregory losing control, about Micah being locked in the basement for weeks at a time. Ray then gestured toward a rusted metal box in the corner. Inside it were two items, an audio tape labeled Day 84 and a yellowed envelope. The tape was blank, just static and muffled scratching, but the envelope contained a folded newspaper clipping from April 1997. The headline read, "Local family reported missing after son's breakdown." According to the article, neighbors claimed they heard screaming for several nights before it all went quiet. By the time authorities entered the home, it was empty. No sign of the Winters family, but in the attic, police found charcoal drawings and a note. "He wasn't born wrong. We made him that way." Alex felt a chill settle into his chest. Ray confirmed that Micah wasn't just a child lost. He was a child forgotten, buried in that house. A boy who lived and suffered alone. a boy who eventually turned on his parents. They descended the attic in silence. Ray insisted they leave immediately, but before they could reach the door, something happened. The house locked itself. Every window, every exit. Alex's sister screamed from the hallway. She had been in her room, packing. When they got to her, she was backed against the wall, shaking, pointing toward the closet. The closet door had opened by itself. Inside, drawn in chalk on the far wall, was the same image they'd seen over and over again. The chair, the child, the scream. But this time, the drawing moved. The charcoal figure turned its head, and then the lights died. Total blackout. Mr. McCarver grabbed his daughter. Ray yelled for everyone to head to the basement. It was the only place left to hide. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Down they went, slamming the door shut behind them. They lit a single lantern, the glow catching on the carved name, Winters. Ray pressed his hand to the wall. "This house isn't haunted," he said. "It's imprinted. It's soaked in what they did to him." They turned to the chair. The leather was darker now, cracked. Something sat in it. A bundle of clothes. At least, they thought it was clothes, until it moved, shifted, slowly uncoiled. It was a boy, pale, thin, face smeared with charcoal. He looked maybe 9, maybe 30. Impossible to tell. His lips didn't move, but a voice filled the room. "You took their place." He stood up. The chains around the chair fell away. "Now stay." Mr. McCarver stepped in front of his family. But the boy just smiled and vanished. The lights in the house returned. The doors unlocked. But nothing felt safe. 1 week later, the McCarvers moved out. They left everything behind. But the story didn't end there. Because 2 months later, the house was listed again. And the new listing? It didn't mention the Winters family. It didn't mention the basement. It didn't mention the locked attic or the drawings still burned into the walls. It just said, "Charming historical home. Family friendly. One previous occupant." Just one. If this story gave you chills, just wait for what's coming next. Hit subscribe, because in the next case, a family's nanny cam captured something that wasn't supposed to be real.